Settle in. Breathe deep. This is the completely true, quiet history of the world's most sophisticated cyber war, detailing how a US military team used 2 years of unseen knowledge to execute a devastating 10-minute strike. Our journey begins with the ancient city of Mosul, where the conflict's digital seed was first planted. The ancient city and the digital caliphate imagine, if you will, the quiet echoes of history settled deep within the earth of northern Mesopotamia. Here, nestled beside the winding path of the Tigris River, rests Mosul, a city whose roots trace back through 4 millennia, a center of civilization since the days when ancient scribes first put clay to stylus. Yet, in the modern age, even the most enduring monuments can be instantly recast by a new chapter of conflict, one written not with bronze and siege walls, but with fear and digital ambition. Mosul, Iraq's second-largest city, had swelled over the centuries into a bustling metropolis, home to well over 1.5 million souls. It was a place of markets, universities, and industry, a hub of culture and commerce. This peaceful, rhythmic life, however, came to an abrupt, devastating halt on the 10th day of June in the year 2014. It was then that a powerful, organized force of armed fighters, known by the world as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIS, began its sudden, overwhelming infiltration. They moved with a chilling synchronization that defied the typical chaos of invasion. In just a few short days, against limited resistance from a strained national military, this massive urban area, a city of millions, was fully enveloped and conquered. The scale of the capture was immediate and total. Within weeks, the consequence of this upheaval began to manifest as a profound humanitarian crisis, with hundreds of thousands of residents fleeing their homes in desperate droves, searching for any landscape untouched by the new occupation. Mosul was no longer merely a city of Iraq. It was now the centerpiece, the physical foundation of a declared caliphate. To understand the immense gravity of this event, one must first recognize the nature of a caliphate. It was not simply a tactical victory or a territorial gain. It was the establishment of a self-declared sovereign state. By declaring Mosul as the seat of the Islamic State, the group was attempting to establish its own nation, a place where its violent, extremist ideology could be practiced and governed, and where adherents from around the globe could be invited to live and fight under its banner. This victory was strategically immense, elevating ISIS from a regional threat to a global household name. By seizing control of the second-largest city in Iraq and neutralizing key military and security infrastructure, they had achieved an undeniable, concrete demonstration of their power. This single event served as a catastrophic amplifier for their cause. The sheer audacity of the takeover attracted tens of thousands of new members, recruits who were drawn to the success, the clarity of mission, and the promise of a global movement. Once established, the Islamic State wasted no time in imposing a fully realized system of governance. They instituted their own internal mechanisms of control. Their own police forces patrolled the ancient streets. Their own soldiers defended the perimeters of their new territory, and their own rigid leadership structure oversaw every aspect of life within the captured territory. But the most critical element of this newly declared state was not its physical army, but its extensive, highly sophisticated digital apparatus. The organization's goal extended far beyond physical borders. Its true mission was to propagate its message across the world. For this, they built a massive, multifaceted media machine designed to ensure their presence was felt, their acts were seen, and their message was consumed globally. The ISIS media operation was a professional, large-scale entity built for maximum impact and reach. It included the production of high-quality magazines, such as the flagship publications Dabiq and Rumiyah, which were produced in multiple languages, sometimes exceeding 10 different translations, and featured slick, expert design, high-resolution photography from the front lines, and compelling, though horrific, narratives. These were not amateur newsletters. They were well-funded, professionally executed propaganda tools designed to look and feel legitimate. Beyond the print medium, ISIS maintained an aggressive and pervasive presence across the entire digital landscape. They operated a plethora of social media accounts across platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, using these channels not just to disseminate news of their actions, but primarily as potent recruitment instruments. They employed dedicated teams to produce and edit high-definition videos, filming chaotic scenes, and then meticulously refining the footage to maximize its psychological effect on the viewer. To sustain this operation, they required a complex, interconnected digital infrastructure. This network needed to share content seamlessly between geographically dispersed teams, store immense archives of video and photographic assets, and facilitate communication across linguistic and regional boundaries. It was a functional, digital factory requiring skilled editors, translators, information technology professionals, and finance experts. A vast enterprise that worked tirelessly to ensure their horrific message was a constant fixture on the global news cycle. This level of media production and dissemination, functioning at a Hollywood quality standard and reaching international audiences on a daily basis, could no longer be ignored as a mere byproduct of a terrorist group. It was, in itself, a strategic entity. The sheer audacity and sophistication of this media operation is precisely what drew the focused attention of the United States intelligence community. Recognizing that this digital component was fundamental to the group's expansion and global influence, the decision was made in the fall of 2014 to dedicate specialized resources to its destruction. The media arm of ISIS was simply too large, too effective, and too crucial to their existence to be treated as a secondary target. It demanded a focused, dedicated, analytical, and targeting effort all its own. This decision marked the initial commitment to a new, long-term intelligence gathering operation, one that would quietly begin to map every single detail, every digital connection, and every human element behind the vast, dark network of ISIS media. This foundational work was the quiet starting point for a mission that would eventually redefine the future of warfare. The swift, brutal reality of the Mosul takeover had forced a difficult truth upon the world: that a conventional military response was insufficient when the enemy's strength lay not just in rifles and captured land, but in its ability to broadcast its terror and recruit its followers from the hidden currents of the internet. A response was needed, one that could fight not on the battlefield of sand and stone, but on the shifting, ethereal terrain of cyberspace. Ripples in the digital ocean, attacks on the world stage. As the physical foundation of the declared caliphate settled over the ancient lands of Mosul. The ripples of its creation began to spread silently through the digital currents of the world. What began as a territorial conquest in one region soon manifested as a series of distinct, violent tremors in nations far removed from the sands of the Middle East. This confirmed a chilling truth. The Islamic State was not merely fighting a local war, but orchestrating a global campaign of terror and recruitment. Following the dramatic seizure of Mosul, the organization's notoriety soared, leading to a massive surge in popularity among extremist sympathizers. Tens of thousands of individuals worldwide, drawn in by the effective, high-quality media output, became affiliated with the cause. This surge translated directly into a horrifying increase in violent acts across the globe, as the group proudly began taking responsibility for attacks in cities previously considered secure. The earliest indications of this global reach were seen far from the established conflict zones. Attacks began to surface in countries like Belgium, Australia, and Canada, each event underscoring the organization's ability to inspire or direct violence across vast distances. One of the most shocking displays of this reach occurred in October 2014, when a gunman affiliated with the group opened fire on Canada's Parliament Hill in Ottawa, the Canadian equivalent of the Capitol Hill. The attack culminated in a shootout inside the ornate building where lawmakers were gathered, bringing the terror of the caliphate directly into the heart of a Western capital. This was no longer an issue confined to the streets of Iraq. It was a pervasive threat that defied geographical boundaries. Facing this unprecedented transnational enemy, the Iraqi military, still recovering from years of conflict and the massive loss of Mosul, simply did not possess the immediate strength to take back its own territory. With the Islamic State continuing to grow in numbers and influence all over the world, it became increasingly clear that a powerful, concerted, and multifaceted international intervention was required. In October 2014, the United States military initiated a comprehensive executive order known as Operation Inherent Resolve. This established the anti-ISIS coalition movement, creating a structured, multinational effort aimed at defeating the group. The initial response from the United States Navy, stationed across the Persian Gulf, was a heavy, decisive application of conventional military force. Aircraft carriers, such as the George Herbert Walker Bush, were deployed to launch sorties, missions consisting of intelligence gathering, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Yet, these missions were often quickly escalated into direct kinetic strikes. The gravity of the operation was highlighted by the use of Tomahawk missiles. These were launched from Navy ships directly into Mosul, raining down precise attacks aimed at destroying key infrastructure, eliminating high-value leaders, and disrupting troop movements. However, with tens of thousands of people having joined the Islamic State, it soon became evident that physical airstrikes alone could only do so much. They could destroy buildings and eliminate personnel, but they could not extinguish the flow of propaganda, the constant digital recruitment, or the global network of sympathizers. The Islamic State continued its campaign of territorial expansion, seizing more towns and territory across both Iraq and Syria. Simultaneously, its digital presence fueled responsibility claims for more terrorist attacks around the world. One of the most profound and devastating examples of this global reach occurred in November 2015 in Paris, France. This coordinated series of attacks demonstrated the high level of organization and preparation the group could achieve, striking at multiple civilian targets simultaneously. The horror began around 9:20 post-meridium, with the first indication of terror being a suicide bomber detonating a vest outside France's national soccer stadium. A second detonation quickly followed. Though the attackers were stopped before they could gain entry, the shockwave was immediate. Not long after, a third attacker blew himself up outside a nearby establishment. Minutes later, a chilling sequence of coordinated gun assaults began. Gunmen armed with Kalashnikov-type assault weapons targeted diners at a string of restaurants, claiming 15 lives before they raced away in a black vehicle. They struck again at the Café Bonne Bière, killing 5 more people, and then at Le Belle Époque, where 19 people died amidst sheer terror and sustained gunfire. The epicenter of the massacre, however, was the Bataclan concert venue. As the band Eagles of Death Metal played, gunmen rushed the hall and opened fire, leading to what survivors described as a mass execution. 89 innocent lives were taken at this single location. These horrific, recurring attacks underscored the limits of a purely kinetic or physical response. Despite the effective airstrikes and intelligence gathering by the international coalition, the captain of a carrier stationed in the Persian Gulf summarized the situation succinctly. The airstrikes were effective, but the problem was systemic. To truly stop the terror, something beyond the traditional battlefield was needed. They were fighting an enemy that transcended the land, sea, and air domains of conventional warfare. In this moment of urgent need, a call went out for a different kind of weapon, a different kind of warrior. The traditional branches of the military realized that victory would not solely be won by ground forces or naval power. To defeat a media-driven entity that weaponized the internet, the coalition needed specialists who could engage the enemy on its own digital turf. This necessity paved the way for the involvement of the United States Cyber Command, or US Cybercom. The organization, which grew out of the National Security Agency, represents the offensive arm of the nation's cyber operations. Its expertise lay in conducting advanced digital maneuvers and network warfare. The search for this new kind of expertise led to a very particular type of individual. Consider the journey of one such officer, who had begun his career not behind a screen, but on the most rigorous physical battlefields the world had to offer. He started as a regular recruit in the Marines, but his ambition and skill quickly set him apart, leading him to the elite of the elite, the Force Recon Marines. For 5 intense years, this man was a specialist in the most extreme forms of physical infiltration and combat. He was trained to be a warrior of unparalleled ability, executing high-altitude, low-opening and high-altitude, high-opening parachute jumps, engaging in scuba operations, and undertaking perilous missions. He was deployed to tough regions like the Sangin province in Afghanistan, conducting aggressive operations aimed at neutralizing enemy forces. However, the passage of time brings weariness and physical strain even to the most elite warriors. For those who wish to remain engaged in the nation's defense, there often comes a point of reflection and pivot. As the officer himself observed, as one grows older, physical combat becomes harder. The necessary, inevitable pathway to remain effective in the fight, to keep that sense of mission, was to transition into the world of cyber operations. The Marine Corps, recognizing this modern need, provided the necessary latitude for such a pivot. The officer made the switch to the Marine Force's Cyber Command, or MARFOR Cyber. But before he could wield digital weapons, he required a transformation of skill. He was sent to comprehensive schools for large-scale cybersecurity operations, receiving basic certifications like Security Plus and Network Plus, alongside more aggressive, specialized training. This included computer network exploitation boot camps and advanced cyber attack and defense courses, culminating in a mission commander course designed for officers who would oversee complex operations. He emerged as an officer within MARFOR Cyber, a division whose mission statement is exceptionally clear. A paraphrased version states the goal as to conduct full-spectrum cyberspace operations, including conducting offensive cyberspace operations. This is a powerful, explicit mandate. While the government rarely, if ever, publicly claims responsibility for specific cyber attacks, the mission statement itself confirms the existence and intent of this offensive capability. This switch was not simply a change in uniform or location. It was a transformation in mindset. The aggressive, competitive spirit of the Marines, their renowned battle-hungry approach, was translated directly into the cyber domain. The atmosphere on the operations floor was often infused with this military heritage, with teams humorously referring to their actions as shooting cyber bullets or going out on patrol. The tradition of hazing first-time mission participants with flak jackets or helmets on the ops floor, a nod to the physical risks of traditional combat, further cemented this unique blend of warrior culture and technical prowess. Thus, the highly trained Force Recon Marine completed his metamorphosis into a capable, military-trained hacker. His mission was no longer to battle the enemy with a rifle in a physical theater of war, but to engage, disrupt, and destroy from behind a screen. This new arena of warfare, the fifth domain of conflict, was ready for him. By the fall of 2014, the officer had completed his intensive training. It was at this crucial moment that a joint team operating between the National Security Agency and the United States Cyber Command had just been established. This team was focused solely on one target, the massive, sprawling, and sophisticated entity known globally as ISIS Media. This organization, which had fueled the global terrorist surge and necessitated this entire new branch of military capability, was about to become the exclusive obsession of a new kind of offensive force. The physical warrior had found his digital battlefield. The transformation, Force Recon to Cyber Commander. The battlefield had always been defined by the immediate physical realities of gravity, atmosphere, and terrain. Yet, for an elite warrior, a master of the 5 physical domains, there comes a moment of profound transformation, a necessary realization that the evolution of conflict demands a pivot from the steel of a rifle to the silent power of a keyboard. This change was not a retreat, but a strategic rechanneling of relentless, uncompromising energy into the nascent theater of cyber. Our subject, the future mission commander, spent his formative years in the highest tier of physical combat, serving as a Force Reconnaissance Marine for 5 full years. This designation is reserved for the absolute peak of the United States Marine Corps' most elite troops, trained and prepared for deep reconnaissance and direct action far behind enemy lines. Their existence is one of extreme physical and mental rigor, demanding a versatile mastery over all environments. To be Force Recon means to be a specialist in infiltration from every angle, executing tandem, high altitude low opening, or halo, parachute jumps, and high altitude high opening, or HAHO, jumps that require precise navigation over immense distances from high in the sky. It means mastery of subsurface warfare, conducting extensive underwater scuba operations for silent, unseen insertions. It is a commitment to being perpetually ready for the most aggressive, unpredictable challenges imaginable. The entire existence of a Marine, particularly one in Force Recon, is designed to be aggressive, competitive, and singularly focused on eliminating the threat. It is a mindset forged in the crucible of absolute necessity, where survival and mission success hinge upon relentless application of force and skill. This demanding life eventually brought the officer to one of the most volatile regions of the world, the Sangin province in Afghanistan. There, he engaged directly in counter-insurgency operations, doing his part to neutralize enemy forces through intense missions, including rapid, high-risk helicopter raids and patrols. But the body, however expertly trained and conditioned, eventually begins to challenge the relentless schedule of a physically aggressive career. As the officer himself observed, there arrives a time when the way to stay relevant, to keep that intense warrior mindset engaged in the fight, is to acknowledge the changing nature of the domain. In the 21st century, the most effective way to remain in the conflict, to project force and gather intelligence, is through the mastery of cyber. This recognition paved the way for his pivotal transfer, with the Marine Corps allowing some flexibility for high-value personnel. He transitioned to the Marine Forces Cyber Command, or MARFA Cyber. This was a logical movement, but one that necessitated a complete overhaul of his skill set. The warrior now required a new arsenal, one built from code and network architecture, rather than Kevlar and steel. The Marine Corps invested heavily in this transformation. The officer was sent through an intense, accelerated curriculum designed to build a deep, foundational understanding of the digital realm. His training included earning basic yet essential credentials like Security Plus and Network Plus, which establish a baseline for network configuration and security protocols. This was swiftly followed by the more aggressive, offensive training required for his new role. He undertook the rigorous study of the Certified Ethical Hacker, or CEH, curriculum, learning to think like an intruder in order to better defend. More critically, he engaged in highly specialized technical training through intense computer network exploitation boot camps. These courses focused on the practical, hands-on techniques required to penetrate and navigate foreign computer systems alongside advanced cyber attack and defense scenarios. This exhaustive technical education culminated in the Mission Commander course, preparing him for the weighty responsibility of overseeing and directing complex, live cyber operations. Upon completion, he stood ready, an officer within MARFA Cyber. The mission statement for this branch of the military is a direct, uncomplicated declaration of intent, affirming the nation's posture in this new domain. A careful reading of their directive reveals the core purpose: to conduct full-spectrum cyberspace operations, including a focused emphasis on executing offensive cyberspace operations. This is an unambiguous mandate. It confirms that the United States military is not simply interested in defending its own networks. It is officially and actively prepared to project power, to use digital tools to disrupt, degrade, and destroy adversarial infrastructure when required. It solidifies the idea that cyberspace is indeed the fifth domain of warfare, sitting alongside the traditional realms of land, sea, air, and space, and must be treated with the same aggression and seriousness. The officer's Force Recon mindset was perfectly suited for this new domain. The highly competitive, gung-ho spirit of the Marines translated seamlessly into the urgency of network warfare. Within the operations room, the language of the physical battlefield was often adapted almost humorously to the technical tasks at hand. Team members would refer to their digital attacks as shooting cyber bullets or preparing to go out on patrol. This maintained the esprit de corps and the aggressive culture of the Marine Corps within the secure confines of the Digital Operations Center. The humor, too, served as a link to their shared military heritage, a continuing, light-hearted tradition within some of the operation centers required team members on their very first cyber mission to wear a flak jacket or a helmet while seated at their desks. This symbolic gesture meant to poke fun at the lack of immediate physical danger, ironically reinforced the seriousness of the task, acknowledging that they were still engaged in a real, high-stakes military action. From a dedicated practitioner of physical combat, trained to the absolute pinnacle of human aggression, the officer had become a master of digital aggression. He sat in his operational space at Fort Meade, Maryland, the well-known headquarters of the National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command. In this secure environment, teams of officers, often in full uniform, sat before complexes of 4 or more computer screens, a scene that often mirrored the dramatic portrayals in cinema, yet focused on the quiet, meticulous work of network infiltration. By the fall of 2014, as he finalized his training and began his active duties, the timing was strategically perfect. A joint team, drawing resources from both the NSA and Cybercom, was being established with a single, crucial mandate: to focus solely and intensely on ISIS media. This was the target that now commanded the attention of the nation's most powerful digital weapons. The transformation was complete. The warrior who once tracked enemies through the dusty valleys of Afghanistan was now poised to hunt his adversary across the boundless, intricate terrain of the global internet, bringing the same rigorous training and aggressive mindset to a whole new domain of conflict. His new focus was singular, absolute, and poised for a mission of unprecedented offensive action. The apparatus of propaganda. Unpacking ISIS media. The digital landscape the commander now faced was not a simple network of computers, but a massive, intricate propaganda apparatus, a sprawling, virtual factory that worked tirelessly to amplify a message of violence and control across the globe. To the analysts, this organization, known as ISIS Media, was structured and operated with the efficiency and resources of a major international news corporation. Its success depended on its consistency, its professional quality, and its sheer, overwhelming volume of content. This was an entity that published content in more than 10 different languages, utilizing a sophisticated, continuous production cycle. Their flagship magazines, Dabiq and its successor, Rumiyah, were print-quality productions, running to 50 or 60 pages, featuring glossy layout, expertly composed graphics, and high-quality photography sourced directly from the front lines of combat. These publications were not mere bulletins. They were persuasive narratives, featuring excerpts from leadership, tactical instructions for adherents, and detailed recaps designed to inspire recruits and legitimize their actions. The scope of their work extended far beyond static print. ISIS Media had dedicated teams producing high-quality video content that was edited and refined to Hollywood-level standards. They filmed horrific events, then meticulously cleaned and polished the footage to maximize its psychological impact on the viewer, ensuring it was ready for immediate dissemination across platforms like cable news network or CNN, an American broadcasting company, or ABC, on a daily, relentless basis. To maintain this volume and quality, ISIS Media required a diverse, specialized workforce. Imagine the structure of a major metropolitan news office, and you begin to understand the complexity. They employed skilled cameramen to capture frontline footage, professional editors to polish the video and design the magazine layouts, and dedicated linguists capable of translating their message into nearly every major language across the world for rapid, precise distribution. Beyond the content creation roles, they required a robust technical and administrative foundation. This included their own internal information technology, or IT, shops to manage infrastructure, shared drives for file storage, and email accounts for coordination. They had staff devoted solely to maintaining their extensive network of social media accounts, running their websites, configuring domain names, and managing the necessary finance to keep the entire global operation flowing seamlessly. The sheer professionalism visible in every aspect of their output, from the logo design to the speed of their attack claims, was the direct result of this large-scale coordinated operation. Because this apparatus was so vital to the group's recruitment and global influence, the United States government made a critical strategic decision. By the fall of 2014, the scale of ISIS Media warranted its own exclusive focus within the intelligence community. It was no longer a secondary byproduct of a terrorist group. It was a primary target. The officer, having completed his transition from Force Recon to Cyber Commander, now stepped into this highly specialized new environment, reporting to a joint team between the National Security Agency, or NSA, and Cyber Command, or US Cybercom. His mandate was clear and absolute: to make ISIS Media his singular focus. He and his small specialized team were tasked with uncovering, defining, and mapping out everything that made the operation function. The objective was not immediate destruction, but profound understanding. They were engaged in a deep, long-term intelligence collection and analysis effort. The commander articulated the task simply: to define the entire network, mapping the people, the places, and the things, every domain, every server, every human being that caused ISIS Media to tick. Imagine the complexity by drawing the analogy to a national news organization like CNN. Such an organization operates with a clear internal hierarchy. Senior editors direct the narrative. Web staff handle the continuous upkeep of the website. IT staff maintain the shared drives and email services, and field journalists and cameramen capture the raw content. The ISIS media network was identical in its functional complexity. It was this entire, sprawling, human-driven structure that the commander and his team were dedicated to defining. The work was painstaking, meticulous, and time-consuming. From the fall of 2014 through the summer of 2016, the team dedicated a period of over a year and a half solely to the process of analysis, development, and network mapping. This time was spent simply absorbing the target space, building a high-fidelity network, a complete, highly detailed model of the enemy's entire media empire. This was a commitment to patience, a recognition that the ultimate goal required an absolute knowledge of the adversary's digital nervous system. Without this profound understanding, without this digital map connecting every server, every domain, every social media account, and every person, any attempt at a strike would be random, ineffective, and ultimately futile. This 2-year period of quiet observation and rigorous data collection, operating within the secure, dim lights of the operations floor at Fort Meade, was foundational. It was the necessary, deliberate pause before action, ensuring that when the moment came to strike, the attack would be informed by an unparalleled knowledge of the target. It was a long game of patience and penetration, conducted not by ground troops, but by a small, dedicated team of analysts and hackers, building a picture that was more complete and more detailed than the enemy could possibly imagine. This accumulated knowledge would soon grant them an unprecedented, terrifying level of control over the enemy's own narrative. The long game, building the high-fidelity network. As the global conflict raged in the open, the true battle for the commander and his team unfolded in a quiet, dedicated space, the secure operations room at Fort Meade. For nearly 2 years, while the world watched the escalating terror attacks, this small unit engaged in a protracted, silent campaign of intelligence collection, building a comprehensive, high-fidelity network map of their adversary. Their work was the digital equivalent of gently sinking deep roots into the enemy's soil, remaining hidden while drawing out every vital piece of information. The scale of this continuous observation, backed by the resources of the National Security Agency and the United States Cyber Command, is difficult to overstate. It was a commitment of time and talent to a single target, ISIS media, that guaranteed a level of knowledge few organizations could ever achieve. By the end of this sustained analytical period, the team did not just know what ISIS was publishing. They understood with almost perfect clarity the who, the where, and the how of the entire operation. Imagine the sheer volume of data collected over that time. It would have included the names of every individual involved in the media production, from the senior editors who directed the narrative to the remote IT staff who kept the shared file systems running. They would have catalogued the physical locations where content was edited, the specific software used for graphic design and video production, and the intricate rotation of social media accounts used for dissemination. The surveillance extended far deeper than the surface. The team's primary objective was to establish an absolute, persistent digital foothold within the adversary's network. This required a level of sophisticated penetration that goes beyond simple network sniffing. Consider, for a moment, the presumed complexity of this electronic infiltration. It likely began with the successful compromise of a single, high-value target, perhaps the phone or laptop of a key ISIS media operative. Once access to a device was gained, the focus would pivot to data extraction. If the target device used encrypted messaging, a common practice for such organizations, the intelligence effort would then be directed at stealing the necessary private decryption keys for that device. This key is the digital masterpass that allows messages intended for that device to be quietly decrypted and read by the analysts, rendering the enemy's protective measures useless. The effort would then expand horizontally by infiltrating the local Wi-Fi network or communications infrastructure used by the target. The team could capture all the encrypted data traffic flowing to and from the compromised device. With the stolen private keys now in hand, the analysts could perform a complex technical maneuver, decrypting all the captured chat messages and communications. This process, while highly complex and requiring immense computing power, is the pinnacle of signals intelligence, transforming encrypted noise into clear, actionable, conversational intelligence. Furthermore, the team would have dedicated significant effort to identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities in the infrastructure itself. This involved gaining access to the enemy's servers, content repositories, and development environments. Once inside, the goal was not immediate disruption, but establishing persistence. This is a crucial concept in digital operations. It means leaving behind a hidden mechanism, perhaps a sophisticated rootkit or a cleverly disguised backdoor, that guarantees return access, even if the enemy patches the original vulnerability used for entry. This persistence ensured that the teams could maintain their unseen presence, continuously monitoring communications, file transfers, and coordination efforts. They were burrowing their way deep into the ISIS media network, not just on the main devices, but potentially extending to the systems of relatives, spouses, and peripheral contacts to build a complete social and operational picture. The operation was conducted entirely within the confines of the massive black box building at Fort Meade. This proximity to the vast resources of the NSA and Cyber Command was a force multiplier of immense value. If a specialized task arose, whether requiring the expertise of a linguist to translate a difficult phrase, a codebreaker to analyze a new piece of malware, or a developer to build a custom exploitation tool, the necessary help was often just a short walk down the hallway. The result of this sustained, patient effort was a comprehensive, visual understanding of the target space. The commander recalled seeing a long target list, often visualized as a massive digital graph, a complex map on the wall linking every image, server, domain, and account with precise lines of connection. It was the digital equivalent of an investigative map, complete with red strings linking every critical piece of evidence and identity. The knowledge gained was singular. The commander recognized that only he and a few select team members possessed such a profound, detailed understanding of the entire ISIS media operation. This extensive reconnaissance was the necessary precursor to action. The gathered intelligence proved that the enemy's network, despite its global reach, was far from impenetrable. The 2 years of quiet, meticulous work had built an undeniable confidence in the team's ability. They now possessed the digital master keys, the hidden pathways, and the detailed schematics required not just to observe the adversary, but to strike at its very core. The long phase of silence, of listening and learning, was nearing its end. As the year 2015 wore on, the escalating violence demanded a response that moved beyond mere intelligence gathering. The time was approaching for the commander and his team to transform their deep, unparalleled knowledge into a coordinated, devastating projection of digital force. The change in mandate. From listening to leashing, for over a year, the most capable digital forces in the nation had been engaged in a long, silent exercise of observation, meticulously cataloguing the enemy's every movement, every file transfer, and every whispered command. But knowledge, however profound, is only the beginning. The true turning point arrives when the accumulated intelligence is transformed into a mandate for action, shifting the core operational directive from passive listening to active engagement. As the year 2015 progressed, the mounting visibility of the Islamic State's atrocities, amplified by the very media machine the commander's team was studying, created an undeniable pressure for a new, more aggressive response. The terrorist attacks, particularly the devastating coordinated assault in Paris, France, in November 2015, served as the ultimate catalyst, the final straw that broke the bureaucratic stillness and demanded a profound change in strategy. Up until this critical juncture, the team's mandate had been strictly defined and limited. Their primary function was passive collection. They were instructed to sit, listen, and enable kinetic operations, meaning physical strikes, for the forces on the ground. Their work was essential for informing traditional warfighters, guiding missiles, or pointing ground troops toward a target. But they were explicitly not authorized to conduct offensive cyber operations themselves. There was simply no established appetite or accepted strategic framework for purely digital aggression. The idea of using a cyber attack solely to disrupt the propaganda or to diminish the public impact of a terrorist act was a radical concept within the high levels of military and political leadership. The tools were there, the skill was established, but the permission to weaponize their hacks had not yet been granted. The horrific events of November 2015 forced the issue. In the early weeks of December, just before the Christmas recess, then Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter issued a direct, unequivocal command. He wanted options. The time for passive listening was over. They had to do something big now. This sudden shift in political will energized the commander and his team. They knew that their deep, unparalleled knowledge of the target space, gained over 2 years of painstaking intelligence work, meant they were uniquely positioned to deliver an effective blow. They had already developed detailed, tactical plans for cyber attacks, ranging from strategies to take out an enemy website or seize control of a server, to methods for deleting entire enemy data repositories. To test the viability and effectiveness of these nascent plans, the team had already undertaken a smaller-scale operation. They devised a plan to take out a localized portion of the ISIS media network in a single, confined geographic area. This was essentially a proof-of-concept strike designed to build confidence in their abilities, refine their tools, and measure the real-world impact of a digital attack on the enemy's function. The limited operation was a success. It proved that their intelligence was accurate and that their tools were capable of achieving desired effects. The confirmation immediately brought forth the next question from senior leadership. How much bigger can we go? The commander's response was decisive and absolute. Let's go global. The knowledge base was already comprehensive. They had the map of the entire worldwide operation. The technical capability was proven. The strategic shift was now complete. Instead of passively enabling others, they were now seeking authorization to launch a full-spectrum, global cyber attack designed to degrade, disrupt, and destroy the enemy's communications infrastructure simultaneously. However, moving from a tactical test run to a full global operation required more than just confidence. It required a significant bureaucratic and political restructuring. The plan was revolutionary, and such action demanded a new, dedicated institutional framework to oversee its execution. The military hierarchy agreed that this sophisticated approach, the use of hacking to eliminate a major source of terror, was the effective path forward. With this strategic agreement secured, the process began for the creation of a new, highly specialized task force. This entity was to be named Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF-Ares for short. This task force would be composed entirely of cyber specialists focused on offensive cyber operations against the Islamic State. The name, drawn from the Greek god of war, signaled the aggressive and destructive nature of their new mandate. The mission of JTF-Ares was not simply a continuation of the old intelligence-gathering role. It represented a major fundamental shift in United States military operations within the cyber domain. Up until this moment, the commander's team had been operating as an electronic surveillance unit, a group of intelligence gatherers and observers. They were, metaphorically, a person on a rooftop with a pair of high-powered binoculars, watching and recording every detail of the enemy's actions. They could see everything, but they could touch nothing. The creation of JTF-Ares and the forthcoming mission changed this relationship entirely. The new mandate granted them the explicit authority to disrupt, degrade, and destroy the target using cyber attacks. The passive observer was transformed into an active, destructive force. They were, metaphorically, handed a rifle with a scope and granted the order to engage and eliminate. They were no longer simply collecting data from the adversary. They were authorized to weaponize their hacks to achieve maximum destruction. This strategic change was historic and profound, marking the first time such an offensive mandate would be executed on this scale, signaling the full embrace of the cyber domain as a true theater of offensive warfare. This moment of pivot, this turning point from silent observation to aggressive engagement, was the critical step. The mission was now defined, the authority was being granted, and the teams were about to be assembled for an operation that would be unprecedented in the history of military cyber actions. The quiet, persistent analysis of the last 2 years was now about to be exchanged for a symphony of digital destruction. The knowledge was built, the appetite for action was established, and all that remained was the final, meticulous planning of the devastating strike. The central nexus, finding the key nodes. The profound understanding of any complex system is not measured by the quantity of details collected, but by the simplicity of the patterns that eventually emerge from the chaos. After nearly 18 months of painstaking observation, while the political will for a purely cyber response finally crystallized, the commander arrived at a moment of serene clarity. the realization that the immense global tapestry of ISIS media was, in truth, woven around a single, fragile thread. This quiet revelation would fundamentally reshape the impending mission. The commander and his team had spent countless hours staring at the high-fidelity network map, the massive, complex visualization that linked every server, every domain, every social media account, and every human operative. The data, taken in isolation, suggested a widely distributed, decentralized organization, one that should have been difficult, if not impossible, to dismantle with a single strike. However, as the commander kept looking, comparing the endless streams of intelligence with the vast, sprawling data graph, a pattern began to emerge from the noise. It was a cognitive event, a profound recognition that sometimes the simplest truths are the most deeply hidden. He realized that the enemy's global operation was not truly decentralized. It was, in fact, centralized around a relatively small number of critical nodes. He described this realization as his aha moment, the moment when the overwhelming complexity of the threat suddenly simplified into a clear, single strategic vulnerability. The network was not a resilient web of independent cells. It was a structure built precariously, like a house of cards. If the connecting points, the few key structural pieces that bore the weight of the entire apparatus, were removed, the entire edifice would collapse. This was a discovery of immense strategic value, transforming the mission from a prolonged, costly campaign of attrition into a single, coordinated act of digital annihilation. Instead of slowly degrading the network piece by piece, a process that risked the enemy adapting, learning, and hardening their defenses with every attack. The new strategy was to deliver one massive, overwhelming blow that would simultaneously target those central, essential points. The commander immediately recognized the urgency of this finding. He raced downstairs to his boss's office within the secure basement of the National Security Agency headquarters and began drawing the realization onto a whiteboard. He mapped circles, connected them with lines, and labeled them with names and numbers, demonstrating the previously unseen, interconnected nature of the whole enterprise. His conclusion was stark, yet profoundly simple. Sir, it's all connected. It's all here. If we take this out, it all goes away. Or these 5 things, it'll all fall apart. The long-term analysis had provided the key to a single point of failure, a simple, devastating vulnerability that had been hidden beneath the enemy's perceived complexity. The commander's insight was immediately validated by the leadership. The concept of a single, coordinated strike that would render the entire media apparatus ineffective was strategically sound and politically appealing, meeting the new urgency of the Secretary of Defense's mandate. The mission was now clear: to attack the central nexus, the core nodes, and allow the remaining infrastructure to simply unravel under its own weight. This decision triggered the formal institutional pivot required to execute a destructive cyber operation. A new organizational entity needed to be established, specifically authorized and tasked to carry out the mission against the Islamic State. Thus, Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF-Ares, was conceived and officially stood up. The creation of JTF-Ares was far more than a simple renaming of an existing unit. It was the foundation of the nation's first dedicated, offensive cyber strike force aimed at a specific adversary. Its core composition would consist exclusively of cyber specialists focused on offensive cyber operations against ISIS. The name Ares was a calculated choice, invoking the Greek god of war, signifying the aggressive, destructive nature of the task force's new mandate. Unlike the previous intelligence teams, which existed to listen and collect, JTF Ares was created with a clear, absolute purpose: to project power. This was the pivotal moment in the history of US cyber operations. Up until the formation of JTF Ares, the team's actions, even the most complex network penetration, were legally and operationally restricted to intelligence gathering. They were permitted to hack into enemy systems to collect data, listen to conversations, and decipher messages, but they were not allowed to use those footholds to inflict damage. The new task force changed the fundamental relationship between the intelligence community and the military objective by granting JTF Ares the authority to disrupt, degrade, and destroy the target infrastructure using cyber attacks. The commander and his teams were finally granted the permission to weaponize their knowledge. The change in posture was dramatic. The observer on the rooftop was now replaced by the marksman, who not only sees the target, but has the legal and military authorization to eliminate it. The technical knowledge, built patiently over 2 years, was now poised to become a destructive force. This elevation of the mission from intelligence gathering to authorized destruction required the commander to transition from a technical analyst to a strategic leader, overseeing the complex blend of technical prowess and operational law. He now faced the daunting challenge of taking that beautiful, complex map of connections and creating a detailed, step-by-step plan for its coordinated, simultaneous dismantling. The commander's singular realization that the enemy's global power rested on a few centralized, fragile nodes meant that the ensuing operation could be brief, devastating, and entirely focused. The mission was no longer about simply finding the enemy. It was about orchestrating a swift, powerful strike against its discovered heart. The house of cards had been mapped, and the precise moment to deliver the synchronized blow was rapidly approaching. The symphony of destruction, naming the mission, the moment of strategic clarity, the realization that the enemy's vast network could be toppled like a house of cards, immediately gave way to the meticulous, yet often bureaucratic, process of naming the impending strike. This was not a choice for poetic flair, but a matter of strict military protocol, a necessary step that would bind the historic mission to a formal, operational identity. The final name would encapsulate the spirit of the Marine Corps, the precision of cyber warfare, and the destructive intent of the entire operation. Military operations within a specific geographic area of operations, or AO, are assigned a set of predetermined letters. These 2 letters must serve as the opening for the operational codename, ensuring a clear chain of command and deconfliction across diverse military units. For the Marine operations flowing from the Cyber Command at Fort Meade, the assigned letters were GL. The officers within the newly formed Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF Ares, embraced this task with the typical aggressive enthusiasm of the Marine Corps. Gathered in their planning space, they engaged in a lively debate, seeking the most forceful and evocative word that began with GL. They tossed out names that suggested power and battle, words like gladiator, referencing the ancient, unyielding warrior, gladius, the short, devastating sword of Roman legions, and global, reflecting the sheer, unprecedented worldwide scale of the planned cyber strike. The second word in the operational name, in accordance with the military's conventions, was open to the team's preference, allowing them to define the nature of the action. Thus, the exercise became one of combining the aggressive prefix with a suffix that captured the mission's scope and objective. They considered options like Gladiator Something or Global XYZ, aiming for a codename that resonated with the seriousness of their mandate to disrupt and destroy. However, the final authority for the prefix rested with the higher echelons of command. After the intense internal discussion, the decision came down from the senior leadership, and it was a choice that struck the Marine officers as immediately, and perhaps humorously, underwhelming. The mandated prefix was glowing. The initial reaction among the captains was one of disbelief and collective disappointment. Glowing, a word associated with soft illumination, warmth, or gentle emergence, seemed entirely inappropriate for a mission aimed at digital decimation. They pushed back, arguing for something more badass, more hardcore, a name that better conveyed the relentless ferocity of the Marine mindset, now applied to cyber warfare. But the directive was firm. The operation would begin with GL, and GL would stand for glowing. With the mandatory, if mildly dissatisfying first word established, the team turned their attention to finding a second word that could restore the sense of overwhelming force. Their solution came from deep within the Marine Corps' own cultural lexicon of combat. In Marine basic training, when a unit is calling for overwhelming combined fire, coordinating artillery, close air support, mortars, and heavy machine guns to hit an enemy position simultaneously, the result is often described in a specific, powerful term. The massive, synchronized effect of all these different weapons striking a single point at once is known as a symphony of destruction. This term perfectly encapsulated the JTF-ARA's mission. They were not merely looking to take down a single website or a few email accounts. They were planning to deliver a synchronized, simultaneous blow against every major component of the ISIS media network: the web servers, the domains, the file-sharing platforms, the email accounts, and the coordinating infrastructure. It would be a coordinated, overwhelming digital strike designed to achieve maximum effect in the shortest possible time. It would be a symphony of destruction against the enemy's digital heart. Quickly, one of the officers, described as the most earnest of the group, combined the two elements, writing down the final, definitive name: Glowing Symphony. The initial hesitation quickly faded as the functional accuracy of the name took hold. Despite the soft implications of the prefix, the combined phrase accurately described the mission's goal: a coordinated, brilliant, and powerful effect designed to utterly dismantle the enemy's apparatus. The name was recorded, an email was sent for formalization, and there was no turning back. The operation was officially designated Operation Glowing Symphony, or OGS for short. This crucial step now required the highest level of authorization to proceed. The meticulous planning, the 2 years of dedicated intelligence gathering, and the strategic revelation of the central nexus were all condensed into a single, comprehensive mission plan. This plan, which laid out the synchronized destruction of the ISIS media network, required approval that could only come from the very top of the executive branch. In May of 2016, the final necessary executive approval was granted. Task Order 16-0063 was signed into effect by then-President Barack Obama. The task order formally mandated Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF-Ares, to execute the plan, placing the full force of the nation's offensive cyber capabilities against ISIS media. The commander, who had transitioned from the physical battlefield to lead this effort, was now formally designated as the mission commander for this historic operation. In the cyber command parlance, a mission commander is the officer who oversees a specific cyber operation, much like the leader of a ground patrol is responsible for every aspect of the mission's execution. His role was singular: to ensure that the mission, the execution of Operation Glowing Symphony, was carried out with absolute precision, adhering to every legal and operational guideline. The transformation was complete. The mission now had a name, a dedicated team, and the absolute authority required for the execution of a purely destructive cyber strike. The quiet work of the previous 2 years had transformed into the imminent force of the first acknowledged destructive cyber offensive by the United States government. The stage was set for the highly trained teams to be assembled, their targets assigned, and their individual roles defined for the synchronized digital strike that was about to unfold. The symphony was written. Now the instruments were being gathered. The elite unit, assembling the cyber patrol, with the strategic target identified, the operational mandate secured, and the mission christened Operation Glowing Symphony. The task shifted to the meticulous assembly of the strike force. This was not a call for raw numbers, but a quiet search across the intelligence community for a precise blend of highly specialized expertise, a handful of individuals whose unique knowledge and skill could collectively execute a synchronized strike of unprecedented complexity. The commander's task was to handpick the ultimate cyber patrol. The chosen structure was based on small, highly efficient units, mirroring the self-sufficiency of an elite military squad infiltrating hostile territory. The commander envisioned 4 or 5 separate teams, each operating with independence and precision, tasked with dismantling 10 to 15 targets simultaneously. Each team required absolute synchronization, ensuring that the critical dominoes would fall in sequence across the globe. To achieve this, the teams were composed of 4 distinct, highly specialized roles, operating in close physical and cognitive proximity. Together, they formed a cohesive unit where technical execution was seamlessly blended with deep intelligence analysis. This was a partnership of the keyboard and the human mind, working as one. The first, and perhaps most immediately active role, was the operator. This individual was the executor, the one who would physically sit at the keyboard and input the final commands to inflict the destructive effect. Their skill set was rooted in deep technical competence. They were masters of setting up infrastructure, understanding the pathways to reach a target, and, crucially, knowing how to safely exit a system once the objective was complete. The operator was the expert on the approved cutting-edge hacking tools and exploits, authorized to press the final delete or enter key on the adversary's systems. Their focus was immediate, precise execution. Sitting immediately adjacent to the operator was the signals analyst, often referred to as the SIGDEV analyst. This person served as the essential navigator of the mission. While the operator focused on the keystrokes and the tools, the signals analyst maintained a comprehensive, almost psychic understanding of the enemy's internal digital landscape. They knew the intricate details of the target's directory structures, the convoluted naming conventions for their domain names, and the critical access points, such as the names of the domain administrators. The signals analyst had spent months, if not years, analyzing the enemy's network traffic and internal communications, understanding its digital arteries and veins. This deep internal knowledge allowed them to guide the operator, providing the essential context and pinpoint directions, ensuring that the technical strike was aimed at the exact right critical point within the vast, complex target network. The signals analyst was the map, always ready to direct the action in real time. To the other side of the operator sat the intelligence analyst, a specialist whose focus transcended the digital realm and centered on the human component of the adversary. This individual was the historian and translator of the enemy's activities, maintaining the larger picture of the terrorist apparatus. Their memory was a database of faces, names, addresses, phone numbers, friends, and terrorist cell affiliations. Their primary value came when the operator encountered unfamiliar language or seemingly random digital data within the enemy's system. As the team navigated the foreign network, they would inevitably encounter server names, domain names, or email addresses that were merely words or alphanumeric strings to the operator. The intelligence analyst, with their encyclopedic knowledge of the enemy's personnel, could instantly provide the human context, explaining that a certain server name actually referred to the media editor's file repository, or that a specific domain was managed by a known finance operative. This expertise ensured that the digital actions always corresponded to the correct, high-value human targets. Overseeing this highly synchronized operation was the mission commander, the officer who held the ultimate responsibility for the mission's success and its adherence to the law. The commander's role was one of constant oversight and decision-making, ensuring the team accomplished its assigned task while strictly following the complex operational rules of engagement. In the sensitive, uncharted waters of offensive cyber warfare, this required ensuring that no digital foot was placed in a location where it was not legally allowed to go. He was the vital link, the ultimate authority on whether a target could be legally struck or if a team needed to pivot to an alternative plan. The teams were assembled through an intensive, targeted recruitment process. The commander and the leadership of JTF-RS reached out across the broader intelligence community, the NSA, US Cyber Command, and various military branches, requesting specialists who met the specific, rigorous qualifications for each of the 4 roles. The task orders were executed, and the personnel, the highly skilled hackers, analysts, and officers, were brought together to serve the single objective of Operation Glowing Symphony. This concentration of talent meant that dozens of the most capable, military-trained cyber warriors were now operating with the full backing of the United States military. They had access to custom-built, cutting-edge hacking tools, the latest intelligence, and immediate support from specialized experts, including linguists, cryptographers, and code developers. The entire apparatus of national security intelligence was quietly arrayed behind this small, dedicated strike force. Yet despite the overwhelming resources and talent now focused on the target, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The preparation for a strike of this magnitude, one that required unprecedented interagency coordination and political approval, was slow. The enemy's network, though thoroughly infiltrated, remained active. Every day that passed brought a paralyzing fear that the hard-won access, the critical foothold gained over 2 long years, could be detected and sealed off by the enemy's own network managers. The commander and his teams, ready to strike, were forced to wait, the immense pressure of potential exposure weighing heavily on the quiet operations room. They had achieved the perfect strategic alignment. And now they waited for the final political moment to unleash their devastating digital force. The crucible of approval, waiting for the green light. The immense pressure that precedes a historic military operation often stems not from the confrontation with the enemy, but from the agonizing, meticulous process of securing final authorization. For the teams of Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF-Ares, the most stressful phase was the period of waiting, when they were fully assembled, their digital accesses live and their scripts polished, yet held motionless by the slow, deliberate machinery of governmental approval. This was the crucible where confidence was tested against the relentless erosion of time. The commander and his specialized teams had spent nearly 2 years earning their foothold in the enemy's network, and the last 6 months mapping the strike in intricate detail. They possessed what they needed: the accesses to the key nodes, the tools custom-built for destruction, and the political mandate to proceed. Yet they could not move. The green light was suspended, held hostage by the necessity of high-level interagency deconfliction. A destructive operation of this magnitude, one that touched foreign infrastructure across the globe, was not solely the domain of the Cyber Command. It required absolute coordination with a multitude of other powerful agencies: the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, the National Security Agency, or NSA, and various other military and intelligence branches. Each of these organizations had its own ongoing operations, its own intelligence streams, and its own legal boundaries, all of which needed to be carefully reconciled before a single command could be executed. There was a genuine, high-level debate occurring among the senior decision-makers. They were asking whether a mission of this unprecedented type, a purely destructive cyber strike, was properly suited for the military, specifically the Cyber Command, or if it fell under the jurisdiction of a civilian agency like the FBI, because nothing of this scale had ever been openly executed and acknowledged. The legal and operational precedents were being set in real time, adding layers of complexity to the approval process. The stakes for the JTF-Ares teams were unbearably high. Every single day that passed introduced the escalating risk that their persistent access to the enemy's network would be discovered. As hackers, they knew their presence, however carefully concealed, was temporary. If the network administrators for ISIS media caught on, if they noticed an unusual session, a strange log entry, or an unexpected file access, they would immediately lock down their systems, change all their passwords, and seal the entire network. Such an event would not just delay the mission, It would have rendered the 2 years of painstaking intelligence work, the identification of the key nodes, and the subsequent weeks of planning almost entirely worthless. The commander and his teams were acutely nervous every day, knowing that their access could vanish in an instant, making Operation Glowing Symphony less effective, or perhaps not even worth attempting at all. The entire operation was a fragile glass structure, and time was acting as a continuous, destructive vibration. Adding to the confusion was the intervention of a non-state actor, the collective known as Anonymous. As the Islamic State's global attacks surged, the Anonymous group launched its own highly visible cyber war. They focused on actions like mass reporting thousands of ISIS Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts, leading to rapid, widespread suspensions by the platforms. They also began actively taking down and defacing ISIS websites. While these actions were effective in reducing the enemy's visibility, they inadvertently created a monkey wrench in the intelligence communities. If a website that had been tracked for years suddenly went dark, the JTFR's analysts faced a dilemma. Was the site down because their own covert intelligence mechanism had been detected and locked out? Or was it down because an outside, uncoordinated actor like Anonymous had struck? This lack of coordination was a source of great frustration. The core mission of the commander's team was to collect data and maintain access. When a website or server went offline without warning, the valuable stream of intelligence was immediately cut off. There were reports of intelligence operatives reaching out to Anonymous members in clandestine chat rooms, not to formally coordinate, but to implore them to back off certain targets temporarily, assuring them that the US Cyber Command had the enemy in its sights and was preparing a more devastating systemic blow. This tension between the need for secrecy and the impulse for public action underscored the unique challenges of the cyber domain. The commander and his teams understood that their work required an absolute level of operational discretion that decentralized vigilantes simply could not maintain. Throughout this period of agonizing delay, the commander and his senior operators were subjected to rigorous mission briefs up the chain of command. They had to articulate their plan with excruciating detail, laying out every keystroke and movement on the network as if describing a physical patrol. We're gonna go out the door. We're gonna make a right. We're gonna go for 5 miles. We're gonna make a left. This level of detail was necessary to give the higher-ranking officers full confidence in the plan's legality and efficacy. After these presentations, senior officers would often place a hand on the shoulder of the commander or the senior operator and ask the same simple question, infused with the weight of the moment. Are you sure we can do this? The mission had garnered so much political and public attention that no one wanted to be responsible for its failure. The only possible response was an unwavering assurance. Yes, sir. Give me the green light. Let's go. Finally, as the necessary approvals were secured, the complex ethical and legal preparations were finalized, and the last concerns about interagency deconfliction were settled. The momentum shifted decisively. The commander and his JTFRS teams, having patiently endured the long crucible of political and bureaucratic delay, were now poised to transform their theoretical knowledge into a coordinated, destructive reality. The agonizing wait was over, and the digital strike was imminent. Unlocking the network, The email vector. The 2 years of patient observation and intelligence collection had revealed the sprawling, intricate map of ISIS media. Now, with the political mandate secured and the mission imminent, the teams turned their focus to the most critical tactical question: where, precisely, to place the initial digital fulcrum that would topple the entire structure. The answer was not found in a complex, unknown zero-day exploit, but in the most common, unassuming channel of modern communication: electronic mail. The commander understood a fundamental truth of modern cyber conflict, a truth often overlooked in its simplicity. A vast majority of successful intrusions begin with the exploitation of electronic mail. It is, statistically, the quiet, persistent current through which nearly every digital organization connects and coordinates. For the JTF-RS teams, this meant that the key to unlocking the entire global infrastructure of their adversary rested in gaining the credentials, the username, the electronic mail address, and the correct password for the most sensitive accounts within the ISIS media structure. Gaining access to just 1 or 2 of these core electronic mail accounts was, in the language of hacking, golden. It provided a central pivot point, the ultimate foundation from which to launch the network-wide destructive strike. If you control the central current, you can redirect the entire flow of the downstream network. The power of an electronic mail account is not merely in the ability to read private correspondence. Its true value lies in its function as the master key for password recovery across dozens of other, more critical services. Once an attacker possesses control of the electronic mail, they possess the ability to easily compromise everything linked to it. Imagine a critical file storage service, or a web hosting platform, or perhaps an account with a massive cloud provider like Amazon Web Services or AWS. Each of these platforms offers a simple mechanism for regaining access if a password is forgotten. They send a password reset link to the registered electronic mail address. By controlling the electronic mail, the operators could initiate a password reset on the hosting service, intercept the reset link, and immediately gain full administrative control of that new platform. This allowed the teams to pivot from a single electronic mailbox directly into the core administrative infrastructure of ISIS media. They could move into their cloud accounts, their content delivery network accounts, even services like Cloudflare, all of which were vital to keeping their propaganda sites live and resilient. The electronic mail account was not just a tool for spying. It was the core piece that gave them command over the enemy's entire digital supply chain. The vastness of the enemy's network, which the teams had meticulously mapped over 2 years, was overwhelming in its size, yet simple in its vulnerabilities. ISIS media operated over 10 different publication languages, maintaining numerous websites with revolving domain names, utilizing web servers with static IP addresses, and posting files and videos to various free file upload sites around the world. They relied heavily on encrypted messaging platforms like Telegram, which required phone numbers and electronic mail addresses to set up and maintain. The team's prolonged analysis had given them precise knowledge of this infrastructure. They knew which electronic mail accounts were tied to which server providers. They had the source code from enemy web pages, which revealed the internal file sharing server used to coordinate content. Every layer of the enemy's digital presence, which they had hoped would be cheap, fast, and globally accessible, was revealed to be a link in a chain that led back to a vulnerable electronic mail login. To ensure the success of the mission, the teams did not rely on a single, isolated method of attack. Their strategy was not built on a fragile, one-time exploit. It was built on a whole suite of things. They had developed multiple simultaneous access vectors into the system, guaranteeing that if one path were to be shut down, another would be instantly available. Central to this multi-vector strategy was the establishment of persistence. This is the critical, continuous foothold within a compromised network. Once inside, the teams needed to ensure they could stay hidden, unseen, and maintain their access regardless of any actions the ISIS media administrators might take. This could involve the deployment of a custom-built rootkit or the quiet opening of a back door that would allow them to reconnect instantly, even if the enemy patched the original vulnerability. Persistence meant that when the strike began, the JTF-RE's teams would be in the driver's seat, totally immune to being locked out. The complexity of pairing the correct exploit with the specific infrastructure was immense, requiring the full attention and collaboration of the technical directors and developers at Fort Meade. The commander expressed an enduring sense of confidence in the sheer capability of his colleagues. They approached every challenge not as a matter of if it could be solved, but only as a matter of when they would devise the solution. Their focus was absolute. They would always find a way. Now, with the final approvals granted and the strategic targets locked in, the teams began the final, meticulous work of assigning the individual targets. Because the entire operation had to be executed as swiftly as possible, before the enemy could notice that one part of their network was being degraded and cut off the rest, the simultaneous nature of the attack was paramount. The commander divided the enemy's digital estate into manageable lists, giving each of the 4 or 5 specialized teams 10 to 15 targets. These targets were not random. They were carefully planned so that success in one would enable the pivot to the next. The lists included a massive inventory of targets, servers, social media accounts, electronic mail addresses, mobile accounts, and financial accounts. The mission was to inflict maximum damage, lock out, delete, misconfigure, reroute, and seize any element that prevented the network from functioning. The plan was refined down to the keystroke, detailing the exact order in which each server would be addressed, the precise command that would be executed, and the necessary pivot point to the next objective. The precision was extraordinary. The team spent hours rehearsing this synchronized demolition in a test environment, ensuring that the scripts worked flawlessly, that the automated processes functioned as designed, and that the manual, hands-on portions of the attack were performed with perfect accuracy. The developers and technical directors reviewed every line of code, every network maneuver, ensuring absolute readiness. This was the unwavering focus of the Joint Task Force RE's teams. Operation Glowing Symphony, all day, every day. Working nights and weekends to custom build the necessary tools and ensure the 10-minute execution window was possible. The teams were prepared to transform their mastery of the enemy's electronic mail into the wholesale destruction of its global propaganda apparatus. The rehearsal was complete. All that remained was the moment of absolute synchronization. Drilling the keystrokes, the 10-minute countdown, the moment of strategic clarity gave way to the quiet, relentless pursuit of perfect execution. For the teams of Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF Ares, the mission was now defined not by broad strategy, but by the minute precision of a rehearsed keystroke, practiced until the entire act of digital destruction was seamless, synchronized, and inevitable. This process of preparation was akin to a master orchestra practicing a complex movement over and over, ensuring that the performance would be flawless, unified, and utterly devastating to the enemy. The commander's singular focus was on eliminating the possibility of failure. Because the enemy's network was so carefully observed, they knew that any prolonged attack would be immediately detected, triggering a massive defensive lockdown. Therefore, the entire global strike had to be executed with a swift, synchronized ferocity that would leave the adversary no time to react. The plan was to deliver a massive blow, to decimate as much as possible in the shortest amount of time possible, and then maintain a persistent engagement to dismantle any remnants. This necessity gave rise to the 10-minute window, the fiercely protected duration within which the core objectives of Operation Glowing Symphony had to be accomplished. The teams had profiled the enemy's operations for so long that they knew with high confidence that a specific window of a few hours would be the optimal time for the strike, likely coinciding with a period of reduced activity from the enemy's own administrative teams. Within that period, the initial penetration and seizure of the critical central nodes had to be completed in 10 minutes or less. The preparation to achieve this lightning-fast synchronization was obsessive. The entire operational plan was scripted out to a T, ensuring that the movement between targets was not left to real-time improvisation, but was codified in advance. Each of the 4 or 5 teams was given a list of targets, 10 to 15 specific objectives, and their attack order was entirely dependent upon the planned success of the previous step. Imagine the complexity of this detailed planning. The teams had to identify which server to hit first, which electronic mail account to compromise second, and which financial or social media account would be the necessary pivot point for the third step. These targets, which included servers, social media accounts, electronic mail addresses, mobile accounts, and financial accounts, were all dependent upon each other. For example, a successful lockout of a primary email address allowed the team to immediately pivot and gain control of the cloud hosting provider linked to it. The overall mission was to inflict maximum damage, lockout, delete, misconfigure, reroute, and seize every piece of infrastructure that kept the ISIS media network functioning. They were preparing to systematically erase the enemy's digital presence. To ensure this precision, the teams engaged in an extensive series of rehearsals, practicing the mission not just mentally, but physically within a test environment. The entire operation was recreated in a safe, isolated digital space. The goal was twofold. First, to ensure that the complex, automated scripts, the sequences of commands designed to execute the attacks, worked flawlessly from beginning to end. Second, to practice the hands-on elements, the non-automated maneuvers that required the operator's precise keystrokes. Every line of the script was reviewed, every network command was tested, and the entire sequence was approved by both developers and technical directors. This rigorous validation process, which mirrored the meticulous planning of any major military maneuver, was the final guarantee of effectiveness. The hackers, like engineers building a delicate but powerful machine, needed to be absolutely certain that their attack would perform exactly as intended. The intensity of this preparation was all-consuming. The members of JTF Ares operated under a singular, relentless focus, dedicating their entire working lives to the mission. The operation became known simply by its abbreviation, OGS, all day, every day. This required working through nights and weekends to custom build the necessary tools and ensure the 10-minute execution window was possible. The commander and his teams, ready to transform their intelligence into destruction, were poised to deliver a blow so coordinated and swift that the enemy would be overwhelmed before they even understood what was happening. They now knew the exact window of opportunity, the moment of minimal enemy engagement. The plan was refined, the scripts were polished, and the teams were prepared. The only action remaining was the final, irreversible command that would transform their knowledge into the powerful reality of Operation Glowing Symphony. The long, deliberate patience was about to pay off in a final, synchronized strike. The moment of execution, a symphony, unleashed. The moment arrived in the quiet, controlled environment of the operations room, a setting designed to resemble the high-tech, cinematic command centers so often depicted on screen, yet imbued with a palpable sense of gravity and silent anticipation. Here, in the dim light of the secure facility, the hours of planning and the years of patient intelligence work converged into a single point of action, ready to be executed with unwavering synchronization. This was the moment the symphony of destruction would be unleashed. The room itself was a low-lit expanse, often referred to as the operations floor or ops floor, with a layout optimized for immediate information processing and command clarity. Rows of desks were lined up, each housing a member of the specialized team. Every operator was equipped with at least 2 keyboards and 4 high-resolution screens, creating a comprehensive digital workspace for navigating multiple systems simultaneously. Facing the teams were massive wall monitors displaying real-time situational awareness, stoplight charts tracking the operational status of targets, world maps showing the geographic reach of the enemy's network, and live data feeds confirming the status of critical infrastructure. The atmosphere was electric, yet muted, held taut by the discipline of the trained military hackers. All activity ceased as the teams awaited the final word of authorization. The mission commander stood ready to receive the last clearance from higher headquarters, which arrived not as a dramatic flourish, but as a simple, measured voice over a secure phone line. The word came, "Clear it hot." With that final command, the commander turned to the assembled teams on the operations floor. No long speech was required. The months of relentless preparation had made the action instinctual. The order was simple, direct, and absolute. "Let's go." Heads immediately dropped, attention fixed on the screens. Across the room, operators simultaneously performed the first critical action of the mission, hitting the shift key combined with the enter key to launch the complex, automated scripts they had spent weeks rehearsing. The effect was instantaneous and globally synchronized. The prepared scripts began running, initiating the carefully planned sequence of penetrations and destructive actions. The teams, working through their individual lists of 10 to 15 targets, started to move with a coordinated, rapid intent. They were moving through different parts of the enemy's network, pivoting through compromised accounts, and systematically reaching the key servers and domain controllers that formed the central nexus of ISIS media. The room, though quiet in its physical action, filled with the low murmur of professional communication. Teams spoke in measured tones, confirming critical steps and relaying status updates. You could hear the focused communication. Click this. Go into that directory. That's it. Jackpot. The rapid execution of the automated scripts was immediately followed by the manual, hands-on destruction necessary to complete the mission's objective. The digital strike was a torrent of coordinated destruction. The teams began executing the core mandate, deleting virtual machines, taking full administrative control of domain controllers, and destroying systems in any way possible. This gave them sovereign access to key infrastructure, allowing them to systematically purge or seize control of the enemy's media assets. They were raining down a comprehensive symphony of cyber destruction. To track the progress of this synchronized attack, a massive printed map, a physical representation of the digital architecture, perhaps 3 feet by 6 feet in size, was tacked up on the wall, showing every single target. As objectives were accomplished, the teams maintained a strict chain of command for reporting success. Each team member, upon successfully completing a core objective, would quietly deliver a small piece of paper to the mission commander. This paper contained a brief, pre-agreed upon code, something like 1 Delta or Hackers or Browns, which immediately told the commander what had been struck and confirmed its destruction. The commander would then log the success on the master board and report the confirmation up the chain of command via a secure radio link. This meticulously organized reporting ensured that, despite the lightning-fast speed of the operation, senior leadership was tracking every success across the entire enterprise. The teams were striking targets all over the globe, simultaneously enacting the pre-approved destructive maneuvers. They were deleting accounts, wiping hard drives, destroying systems, rerouting traffic away from enemy servers, and locking out accounts with irreversible password changes. The destructive blow was comprehensive. A particularly effective and interesting target involved the enemy's financial accounts. While JTF-RS was not the Federal Bureau of Investigation and therefore could not legally seize funds in the traditional sense, they could render those funds permanently inaccessible. If a PayPal account was linked to a compromised electronic mail address, the teams could take over the email, change the backup passwords and recovery details, and then completely lock out the original ISIS operatives from their financial accounts. The money, whether it was $1,000 or a larger sum, would be permanently gone, essentially frozen in digital limbo. The same destructive principle was applied to cryptocurrency holdings. By deleting the private keys associated with any digital wallets stored on the compromised virtual servers, the teams could permanently destroy access to those funds. The digital currency, without its decryption key, would become an inert, unspendable string of code, a complete financial obliteration. The synchronized attack was proceeding with astonishing speed and accuracy, a direct testament to the rigorous, exhaustive rehearsals. Within approximately 10 minutes of the clear it hot command, the commanders' teams had gained control of all of their key nodes and targets. The primary mission objective was not only met but secured. At that 10-minute mark, a realization of total success swept through the operations floor. They had control. The enemy could not stop them. The entire core infrastructure of ISIS media was totally pooned, a state of absolute, irreversible compromise. Though the moment was fleeting, a quick, silent, and entirely deserved high five was exchanged across the core team, a brief acknowledgement of the sheer difficulty and historic success of the initial breach. The mission commander immediately directed the teams to continue, but the urgency had passed. They spent the next 2 to 4 hours going through the remaining secondary target list. They could now take their time, systematically finding and cataloging more targets, more domains, more servers, and more files. Everything that was within the pre-approved plan was subject to immediate digital effect. Anything new that was discovered was meticulously catalogued and placed on the target list for the continuous follow-up operations that were sure to follow. They worked with relentless focus until they reached the point where they knew the enemy's own information technology teams would be coming back online to assess the damage. At that precise moment, the JTF-RS teams withdrew, leaving behind a digital landscape of total devastation. The first coordinated blow of Operation Glowing Symphony had been delivered. The years of quiet, patient work had culminated in a powerful, synchronized strike, transforming the enemy's vast propaganda machine into a chaotic landscape of locked accounts, deleted files, and seized servers. The question now was not whether the attack had worked, but how quickly the adversary could attempt to rise from the digital ashes, and what the lasting strategic impact of this historic operation would truly be. The unforeseen blockade. 1515. In the midst of a perfect, synchronized strike, when the momentum of success feels absolute, the greatest threats often arise from the smallest, most unexpected point of failure. The flawless execution of Operation Glowing Symphony, having already decimated the core infrastructure in mere minutes, was suddenly interrupted by a single, quiet question on a computer screen. A question that threatened to halt the entire mission and render the preceding 2 years of patient work entirely meaningless. This unforeseen blockade was a momentary turbulence in a powerful flight, a challenge to the team's absolute knowledge of the enemy. The scene remained focused and intense on the operations floor. The operator was working diligently on the keyboard. The signals analyst was guiding the penetration, and the intelligence analyst was confirming names and locations. The mission was moving through its checklist with precise, practiced efficiency. Then, without warning, the entire unit hit a digital wall. The target was a critical node within the enemy's network, a necessary stepping stone to gain the final, devastating level of control. The team was attempting to authenticate, utilizing the compromised credentials they had worked so long to secure. But the system, recognizing the login attempt, was originating from an unexpected foreign location, a different internet protocol, or IP, address, triggered a final, desperate security measure. The screen displayed a classic security challenge, a security question. The prompt, simple and yet utterly impenetrable, asked for the answer to a personal query that only the true account holder should know. The exact wording of the challenge was clear, requiring the team to supply the answer to the question, "What is your pet name?" In that instant, the rapid flow of the operation ceased. The adrenaline of the attack turned instantly to a chilling, paralyzing dread. The operator, the commander, and the entire team understood the gravity of the situation. This was one of the core, critical places they needed to go. A domain controller or a key cloud account that anchored a large portion of the ISIS media operation. Without the answer, they were done. The access they possessed was useless, and the ability to pivot to the next level of destruction was blocked. The mood on the operations floor was one of collective panic, a momentary suspension of disbelief. They had planned for every technical vulnerability, every software exploit, and every network defense. But how could they possibly know the personal, intimate secret of a terrorist operative thousands of miles away? The analysts had the names, the addresses, the organizational charts, but not the answer to a simple, trivial question about a pet. As the seconds stretched into an eternity of professional horror, a single voice broke the tension. One of the intelligence analysts, a veteran member who had spent 3 years of their professional life studying the digital breadcrumbs and human details of this specific enemy operative, stood up. He had internalized the target's habits, tendencies, and digital signature with such profound depth that he possessed a nearly complete psychological profile. He spoke one cryptic, confident phrase, 1515. The rest of the team was baffled. What? They were looking for a name, something predictable like Spike or Bob, a common, easily guessed answer. The analyst stood firm, his voice carrying the weight of his conviction, insisting, "No way, it says pet's name. It's got to be 1515 with this guy. It's always 1515. Reluctantly, the operator, trusting the profound, quiet expertise of the analyst, entered the 4 digits. 1515. The system accepted the answer. In that single, breathtaking moment, the digital blockade dissolved, and the team was back inside the enemy's core infrastructure. The relief was immediate, palpable, and overwhelming. The mission, having teetered on the brink of failure, resumed its devastating course. This small, intense episode highlights the extraordinary, terrifying power of the signals intelligence the commander's teams possessed. It demonstrates that the surveillance conducted by the National Security Agency and the United States Cyber Command goes far beyond merely reading electronic mail or monitoring file transfers. It involves such a deep, pervasive burrowing into the adversary's life that they gain a nearly total understanding of their target's personal and technical vulnerabilities. To know the answer to a seemingly random, trivial security question is to understand the target's predictable habits, their tendency to reuse passwords or specific numbers, and their failure to secure the most basic elements of their digital existence. The analysts had not just mapped the enemy's network, they had, in a functional sense, mapped the enemy's mind. This depth of knowledge meant that the highly trained specialists could anticipate the adversary's actions and responses in the technical realm before the adversary themselves even considered them. With the pet name riddle solved, the task force continued to walk through its final objectives with renewed focus. They were now operating with total control, having achieved their full access goals within the critical 10-minute window. The teams continued to strike at all types of targets, including the enemy's financial assets. Though the commander emphasized that seizing funds was not the primary focus of Operation Glowing Symphony, that function belongs to agencies like the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The destruction of those funds was a vital secondary effect. By permanently deleting the private keys to any cryptocurrency wallets, or by seizing control of the linked electronic mail accounts to permanently lock out access to platforms like PayPal, the teams were able to ensure that whatever money the enemy possessed on those digital platforms was immediately and permanently lost to them. The deletion of the keys meant the digital assets were simply destroyed, gone, never to be recovered. The mission commander confirmed that once the core nodes were secured in those first 10 minutes, the entire ISIS media operation was essentially defenseless. The teams had gained control, and the enemy was powerless to stop the subsequent waves of destruction. After the brief, quiet high five that followed the conquest of the main nodes, the team stayed on the network for an additional 2 to 4 hours. They systematically moved through the remainder of the target list, ensuring every planned objective was met. They also took the time to meticulously find, catalog, and document more targets, domains, servers, and files that were previously unknown or considered peripheral. This newfound intelligence was not acted upon immediately, but was written down and put on the target list for the follow-up operations. The commander's teams finally withdrew at the moment they knew the enemy's information technology specialists would be coming back online to assess the catastrophic damage. They left behind a network utterly devastated, locked out and compromised, having delivered a blow of unparalleled digital force. The single point of failure had been exploited, and the long, quiet mission of observation had culminated in a decisive, destructive victory. The question now was not what had been deleted, but what the adversary would do now that their entire digital world had been shattered. The lingering impact, 7 months of disruption. The sudden, synchronized devastation delivered by Operation Glowing Symphony left behind a network in chaos, forcing the adversary's information technology specialists to face a digital landscape of total collapse. This was the moment of truth for the enemy. Would they manage to quickly rebuild and resume their flow of propaganda? Or had the strike inflicted a permanent structural damage? The true success of the mission, however, was not measured in the speed of the initial takedown, but in the ensuing months of quiet, relentless erosion. The cumulative damage that ultimately made the enemy's entire media enterprise unsustainable. The immediate reaction from ISIS media's technicians was, predictably, a frantic attempt at recovery. They worked to stand up their servers, rebuild their websites, reissue new accounts, and restore data from whatever backups they could secure. For the teams of Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF-RS, the immediate return of some parts of the network was expected, but their patient, long-term intelligence had prepared them for this response. The plan was not a single punch, but a continuous, systemic campaign of attrition that would make the rebuilding process a demoralizing, never-ending battle. The objective was simple: to make it profoundly harder, slower, and more expensive for the enemy to communicate, coordinate, and propagate their message. If the operational chain could be broken at any point, if it took too long to pass a photo from the front lines to the editing office, or if a video could not be uploaded due to continuous server failure, the entire production cycle would be compromised. No one, not even a terrorist group, respects a news outlet that constantly misses its deadlines, features poor quality content, and suffers incessant delays. Public analysis following the initial strike confirmed its immediate effectiveness. Reports indicated that a significant portion of the enemy's digital presence vanished instantly, and crucially, only 40% of the ISIS websites that were struck managed to come back online after the first blow. The remaining 60% simply disappeared, never to reappear, signaling a profound loss of core infrastructure and network stability. However, the mission commander and JTF-RS teams knew the fight was far from over. When the remaining 40% did come back online, it signaled the necessity of follow-up action. Their mandate was to maintain continuous engagement, treating the recovery as merely a new set of targets. The overall mission, Operation Glowing Symphony, continued relentlessly for a period of 7 months after the initial decisive strike. This follow-up campaign was defined by a steady, methodical approach. Once a new server or domain was identified, a direct result of the enemy's attempts to rebuild, it was swiftly submitted for approval and struck down. This repetitive cycle, target, approve, take down, continued day after day, week after week. In the first 30 days alone, the JTF-RS teams were conducting operations nearly every day, ensuring the enemy found no respite and no chance to re-establish a stable foothold. This continuous digital pressure yielded a devastating long-term result. Over the course of the 7-month campaign, the commander confirmed that JTF-RS effectively took out 90% of the ISIS websites that had previously been operational. The cumulative effect of this systemic destruction was an erosion of the brand and a disruption of the entire media supply chain. One of the most measurable and most satisfying indicators of this success was found in the enemy's flagship magazine, Rumaya. This high-quality publication was the successor to the earlier Dabiq and served as a powerful propaganda tool meant to inspire fighters with slick stories, battle recaps, and strategic instructions. The magazine was meticulously produced to align with the Islamic calendar, aiming for release every 28 to 30 days, ensuring absolute timeliness and a professional standard of consistency. When the impact of Operation Glowing Symphony was examined, the signs of system failure became undeniable. The November issue of Rumia, following the height of the operational disruption, was severely delayed, arriving on day 36, nearly a week late. This unprecedented delay was a visible crack in the foundation of the enemy's operational discipline. As follow-up strikes and continued operations from JTF-RS hammered the network, the delay dates began to stretch longer and longer. Eventually, the production delays, the inability to consistently coordinate, and the continuous loss of editorial staff and infrastructure reached a tipping point. The difficulty of the task had become unsustainable. The brand was irrevocably damaged, its message no longer timely or reliable. The final, quiet victory was the enemy's decision to abandon the magazine entirely. This systematic breakdown, the slowing of the production cycle, the deletion of files, the disruption of coordination, had the desired strategic effect. By eroding the media apparatus, the perceived legitimacy and power of the organization itself began to fade, contributing to a measurable decline in their global recruitment efforts. This prolonged success marked a historical milestone, fundamentally changing the operational posture of the United States military. For the first time, the US government had openly and explicitly claimed responsibility for conducting destructive cyber attacks against an adversary. While the military's mission statement had long included the capacity for offensive cyber operations, this was the first public instance where the government stated, "We did this, we deleted this, we locked out this," moving the cyber domain fully into the realm of acknowledged warfare alongside land, sea, air, and space. The legacy of Operation Glowing Symphony and the establishment of Joint Task Force ARIs are profound. The ability to deploy military-trained hackers with the mandate to degrade and disrupt enemy networks has opened entirely new strategic doors. JTF ARES remains an active force, conducting missions designed to apply continuous pressure, even on a smaller scale, from simply annoying the target by slowing their computer to remotely draining a cell phone battery. The success of the initial operation created a precedent that has paved the way for the authorization of other destructive missions, solidifying cyber warfare as a foundational tool of national defense and offensive power. Ultimately, the mission to destroy ISIS media was a necessary step in the broader effort to neutralize the threat, which included the physical invasion of Mosul and the eventual defeat of the declared caliphate. While it is impossible to draw a single, direct causal line, the series of events is clear. The rise of ISIS and the seizure of Mosul led directly to the creation of the mission to dismantle its media arm. The quiet, dedicated work of the commander and his teams proved that the most powerful force in the 21st century is not always kinetic, but the precise, relentless application of knowledge against the fragile, networked heart of the enemy. The age of purely destructive cyber warfare had arrived, and the consequences of that shift continue to shape the global digital landscape. The symphony fades, reflections on the quiet war, and so, as the digital dust settles over the remains of a once powerful network, we allow our minds to transition from the intricate world of cyber conflict back to a state of quiet reflection. The mission, known as Operation Glowing Symphony, concludes not with a sudden, jarring crash, but with a slow, deliberate fade, a reminder that in the realm of intelligence and warfare, the most profound victories are often achieved through patient, precise attrition. We have explored the arc of this historic action, tracing the journey from the ancient lands of Mosul, suddenly enveloped by a new, digital form of conflict, to the secure, dimly lit rooms of Fort Meade, where a small team of specialists orchestrated a synchronized strike that would redefine modern military power. The story of the warrior's pivot, the transformation of a highly trained Force Recon Marine into a mission commander, wielding code instead of steel, serves as a powerful metaphor for the evolution of the global defense posture. Recall the deep quiet of those 2 years, the time dedicated not to confrontation, but to absolute, meticulous understanding. The teams of the National Security Agency and the United States Cyber Command embraced a patience that is the true hallmark of high-level intelligence. They were building a high-fidelity network map, charting every server, every domain, and every human connection, not out of malice, but out of necessity. They were charting the unseen currents of the digital world, preparing for a moment that demanded not haste, but perfect knowledge. This dedication to analysis was the engine of the eventual destruction. It led to the quiet, profound realization that the enemy's global power was built on a fragile, centralized foundation, a house of cards that could be toppled by a few synchronized strikes against key nodes. That single moment of clarity, the aha revelation of structural vulnerability, transformed a seemingly endless war into a single, solvable engineering problem. The ensuing weeks of preparation required the same methodical approach. The formation of Joint Task Force Ares, or JTF-Ares, solidified the unprecedented mandate to disrupt, degrade, and destroy, moving the military's role from passive observer to active, destructive force. The teams, a precise blend of operator, navigator, and historian, practiced their sequence down to the finest detail. They practiced the execution of automated scripts, drilling the synchronized sequence until the complex, devastating strike could be launched within the fiercely protected 10-minute window. And when the order came, clear it hot, the result was a torrent of coordinated digital destruction. Virtual machines were deleted, domain controllers were seized, and the enemy's access to their own financial accounts and propaganda platforms was obliterated in a matter of minutes. The entire operation was a testament to synchronicity and precision, a masterwork of coordinated action across the complex, borderless domain of the internet. Even the near crisis, the moment when the team hit the security question demanding the answer to "What is your pet name?" underscored the extraordinary depth of the intelligence work. The rescue came not from a new exploit, but from the quiet, human knowledge of the analyst who knew the target so profoundly that he could anticipate his predictable habits, confidently calling out the simple, cryptic answer: 1, 5, 1, 5. This moment confirmed that the most potent weapon in the digital age is the comprehensive, all-encompassing understanding of the human element behind the keyboard. The ultimate success of Operation Glowing Symphony was not just in the initial takedown, but in the long, drawn-out campaign of attrition that followed. For 7 long months, JTF-Ares maintained pressure, systematically striking every time the enemy attempted to rebuild, ensuring that their efforts were futile and their resources were drained. The enemy's media production, once slick and timely, descended into chaos and missed deadlines, leading to the ultimate sign of defeat, the total abandonment of their flagship propaganda magazine. The digital brand was eroded not by bombing, but by relentless, targeted disappointment. This mission, now etched into the history of cyber conflict, marked a profound and irreversible turning point. It established a new precedent: the open, acknowledged capability of the United States military to project destructive force into the cyber domain. The work of the mission commander and his teams paved the way for future operations, ensuring that the cyber domain is recognized and treated as a critical theater of offensive warfare, a realm where knowledge and precision are the ultimate instruments of power. As we reflect on these complex operations, we invite a final, quiet contemplation of the principles that guided this endeavor. The ability to defend the nation now hinges on the fusion of warrior discipline with technical mastery, the patience to observe, the intelligence to understand, and the precision to strike are all lessons drawn from this quiet, historic conflict. The unseen currents of the internet, once viewed as merely a communication medium, are now revealed to be a landscape of strategic vulnerability, constantly shifting, always demanding vigilance. This journey through the genesis and execution of Operation Glowing Symphony should serve as a grounding narrative, focusing your attention on the meticulous, rhythmic processes that underpin global security. The calm, detailed repetition of the methodology, the scripting, the rehearsal, the coordination, the relentless tracking, is designed to slow the racing thoughts, anchoring your mind in the deep, continuous flow of information. The knowledge that such complex, high-stakes tasks are executed with such meticulous, organized control can be a profound source of peace and assurance. Now, allow the final echoes of this digital conflict to dissipate. Release any lingering tension from the complexity of the narratives we have explored. Let the intricate details of electronic mail pivots, SIGDEV analysts, and the 10-minute countdown recede from the forefront of your mind. Imagine the operations floor now completely still, the screens dark, the commander's chair empty. The mission is complete, and the warriors are resting. The vast global network of digital infrastructure continues to hum quietly, constantly flowing, a sea of data that is now secured by the vigilance and quiet mastery of those who understand its true power. Let the final thoughts drift toward the surface of the water, gently carried away by the steady, slow rhythm of your breathing. There is no urgency in this moment, only stillness. The war is fought, the victory secured, and the quiet vigilance remains. Feel the deep weight of rest begin to settle into your shoulders, your arms, and your legs. Allow the profound sense of organized calm that defined this mission to envelop your own state of rest. May this narrative guide you into a deep and tranquil sleep, carrying you securely through the night. Before you drift away entirely, if this deep dive into the fascinating, complex world of quiet cyber conflict has brought you peace, please consider subscribing to this channel. Your support allows us to continue crafting these long, detailed narratives designed to engage the mind while soothing the body. And if you know someone who finds calm in complexity or who struggles to quiet their mind, please consider sharing this episode. Good night.